Who are you? Beneath the expectations, the labels, and the societal conditioning, what does it truly mean to become you? I'm John Fleming, the founder and lead practitioner of Becoming You. I created Becoming You out of a desire to share my own experience of becoming myself and to support others who are curious about who they are. From a young age, I have been driven by a desire to figure out who I am, why I'm here, and how I can belong while being myself. This is Becoming You, the podcast. Conversations about uncovering, embracing, and being your true self. A place where I dive deep into what it means and what is required to live life as your most authentic self. Through real, honest, and grounded conversations with professionals and people who are walking the path. If you're curious about identity, authenticity, and personal freedom, your own or others, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Kamla, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me.
So, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Yeah, you just prepared me, and I thought, what would I like to say? I think I start with, my name is Kamlawati. That's my full name. And that means, in Indian, it means white lotus. And I believe that that is who I am, what I became, and what is also intertwined within my work.
I'm so curious to ask you what a white lotus means to you.
I like the real growth of a lotus. A lotus needs mud. So for me, that's also translated as a metaphor for you need your, can we swear? You need your, you know what, to grow. And then the roots go into that mud, and then you get the beautiful flower on top of the water, and petal by petal, it will unfold. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor. India also says it's enlightenment, it's alignment, it's growth, it's bloom, it's a lot of things, also spirituality. So I think it's a good name, I would say.
I like it. Kamla, I have a question for you from the last guest. And the question is, if you were a tree, what tree would you be?
I would say a big old oak tree. Yeah, in the middle of a field, really thick and old and very high up. I see that as a place where people can just sit at, look at, feel at. It's like, I would say, a significant piece of structure even, where people can lean on if they need or want to. And it is majestic, it's royal in a way.
Nice. Lovely. So, Kamla, I'm curious about, you and I know each other to a certain extent. We have become friends in recent times. So yeah, I'm curious to know more about who you have been becoming in your life.
I would say more of myself. So I feel right now that I'm really in that bloom of that lotus. Not all the petals are open yet, but a lot of them are. And yeah, I've come a long way, I would say. I was born in Suriname. My biological mother, and I would say my grandparents basically, decided that I was not there at the right time, at the right moment, with the right father. So they decided to put me up for adoption. So I don't know my biological mother. I didn't knew my biological father either. And I ended up in Holland. That's where I grew up with an adoptive family. And from there, I went to New York first. I have a dance academy background, so I danced in New York for 2 years. And then I went to Curacao, and that's where I now live for a long time already. Yeah, with lots of turbulations, I would say, along that journey, but still loving life and loving people. And I was always interested in why do people what they do? Do they even know? And a lot of times I say, because I was adoptive, a lot of times I felt not in the right space, not in the right family even. So therefore, I would say my childhood, I always looked from the corner of the room to everybody else and what was playing out there, and really catching up on all the patterns, behaviors, words, movements, lines, dynamic. So I studied, I would say from a very young age, all the human behaviors in all different kind of senses. And just because I felt like I don't belong here.
Do you feel like you belong now?
I do. Yeah, I do. I belong to myself in the first place. And I did the work to also really own my and claim my space in my biological family. But that took a while.
If you were to like pick a few things that really enabled you to get there, what would they be?
My heart, one, because that always, I would say that was my GPS, always from the get go. Dance, for sure. That's where I felt the most free, even when I felt miserable. When I danced, when I was in class or on stage, I was like free as a bird. Curacao also, in a way. It combined the two worlds for me. So Suriname and Holland, they combined in within Curacao. So I also felt that that enabled me to become more of me. I often say that because I came to Curacao because of a man, and I now say he's not my man anymore. But I often say that he was my ticket to the tropics. Back to the warmth, back to the tropic, back to the sun. So Curacao was also a part of it. And the work. I mean, working on yourself, with yourself, in yourself, on yourself. That also enabled me to finally, yeah, here I am.
I'm really curious about that, actually, about how you got into doing your own work. You know, what was the route? Because some of us work in organizations and may meet a coach or somebody that inspires us. What was your moment of like, oh, I'm going to start doing some personal development?
I think dance is a big part of it because you're always developing yourself. And I say now, it's also a very harsh role because you're never done and never good enough. So for that sense, I would say now dance, that really was my life, but there's a lot of things that I don't like anymore about it, the whole structure about it. And I always say it's now, I mean, it's like 11, 12 years that I asked for money for my coaching, but I think I've done it almost my whole life. Everybody always came to me with all the stories, small children, big children, adults. I remember the first time that I coached when I was 12. I was sitting in a bus in Holland going to a dance class, and a lady came to sit beside me, and she started talking about her life, but really in detail and really stuff I would say you wouldn't tell a stranger. And it's for certain not a 12-year-old. But hey, she did. And I listened. That's what I'm good at. I can listen. And then I said, ma'am, the next stop I have to get off the bus. But let me tell you, I think if you do this and this and this and this, your life gonna be work out perfectly fine. And she looked at me, she cried, and I left the but I've never seen her again. But that felt so good, but also so normal for me. It was like, yeah, I could give her that. And I really profoundly felt like this is really going to help you without getting anything in return. That was the first time I now acknowledge like, oh, that's where I started already.
At 12.
At 12. Yeah. Yeah. And in the dance school was the same thing. I helped out, I did chores in there, but parents came to me, children came to me, teachers came to me with all their baggage, and I could listen. And then once in a while, I might point them to something else or just be there for them. So I've done it all my life. And then I don't know even. I think Tony Robbins was one of the first people I saw that he really coached. There was a title when I was in New York. So there I got a glimpse of what that might be. But even now and then also, I don't like the title coach. I think sometimes, and it also depends on the person who calls himself or herself coach, it's used in a way that I know better than you. And I don't think that. So I like the word guide, supporter, I often also say I'm like a spiritual cheerleader in a way. I'm standing on the road wherever you are. I say, yeah, go for it. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, that's a bit where that started for me.
Nice. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
I'm curious then about what we're here to talk about, which is becoming you in your body. So this idea that, we're all born into a body, this physical vessel that we need to navigate the world in our lifetime. And some of us have these most amazing relationships with our bodies. Some of us not so much. We could all be at different stages. I know that you work with the body and somatically quite a lot. So I'm really curious about your perspective of supporting people in their relationship with their bodies.
Yeah. I find it very sad that a lot of us are so disconnected from our bodies. And I often say, also to my clients, but everybody I talk to, so I will do now. It's like we have such a small head and we have such a big body. So why is all the focus on that head of us? We have so much more to give, to be, and to hold. So that's one. I think that society programmed us not to focus on that body so that it can become sick, ill. And that's where the money is. That's a whole lot of conversation, but I think that there's also part of programming that is going on right now. And we made our brain so important. And I would say we have three brains. So, yes, your head has one. Yes, your heart is one. And yes, your gut is one as well. And so you have two brains in your body. So, why not also use them as well? I have a lot of clients who are thinkers. At least that's what they think. That no, I have to do it all here. And here is my knowledge and here is my wisdom. And I often say, your body knows so much more. You don't even know. And then I guide them really back to their bodies and really down to the grounds. First the feet, and then we go up again. And then they notice that, of course, they feel a lot of things. I often say that your body talks the whole time. The question is, are you listening?
Yeah, I mean, I have been, continue to be in some spectrums, somebody that was totally consumed by my mind, totally disassociated
Yeah.
from my body.
Yeah.
And then when I began to consider that I had a body, was like, ugh, I don't like it. I don't want to be associated with this.
Yeah.
Definitely in my teenage years, I had body dysmorphia of
Mm.
some varying degree, not
Yeah.
diagnosed, but like I definitely had that distorted perspective on reality about my size and shape. And then I did a lot of work around that. And I remember very clearly one day in my 20s, then going to see a craniosacral therapist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And during the session, her saying, I don't think you have any connection with your body below your hips. And like this was news to me because I was kind of like, what are you on about? Like, yeah, I can feel my legs. Like, I know they're there. I walk on them all the time.
Yeah.
But of course, what I didn't appreciate at the time and what she was trying to communicate with me is that it's not about feeling sensations, it's about connection.
Yeah.
And that's taken me a long time to work on. There's other factors as well associated why I have challenges with my body, but I know that the more I work on it, like it creates this freedom.
Really. Yeah.
It really does. Like
Yeah.
it creates this freedom. Like I could be stuck in my head about something and I could be going around and around and around, coming up with all the different scenarios, applying the logic, the rationale, considering it all. And I might not get anywhere. And sometimes when I go into my body and I ask, I put my hands sometimes like on my navel or on my heart, which I guess is what you're referring to, the heart brain and the gut brain. And it's like I have like an instant knowing. That's really clear. So now I just go there all the time because it's like, not only does this feel good, it's efficient.
That most of all. No, for sure. It's so true. And I often say in our head is also there are different programs running, started from beyond birth, I would say. The statistics say that 9 months before were even created, you already started. So within mom and within dad. So that's where you already started. And we don't even know that. And we don't even know what happened with your father and your mother when you're in the womb, the 9 months, if you're lucky. And even in there happens a lot of stuff that we are not aware of. But if your mom felt stress or lost a loved one or lost a job or was in a divorce or cried the whole time or whatever it is, you absorb that. I always say you marinated in the womb of your mom. So the marination is on you. You live that also in a way. And that's not even yours. And then you start with birth and then you come with your own stuff. So that body is really, I'm going to age myself, a tape recorder of all the things you went through. And it really absorbed all the things and all the things that you did not work with or on or didn't want to feel because it was too painful, too hard, too traumatic. It stores in your body. And bit by bit, if you do and work with your body, it will come out. And then that's the freeing part of it. Then you feel so much more space within yourself, even, and so much more freedom because our bodies block because of all the stuff that we go through. And I believe that that is what dis-ease is, blocked energy.
Yeah, definitely contributing factors. I mean, if nothing else, it's creating so much stress when you're holding so much in your body. I think stress is like the worst thing for us all. It causes so many health complications. It's kind of invisible, actually, almost. I'm just thinking, Kamla, about my approach to getting into my body. And I was just wondering if you come across this or if this was your own experience, because I definitely encountered it with people I've worked with since as well, where it's like, oh, okay, right, so I need to work with my body. But then people's way into their body is through their head. So it's like, well, I'll just think about what's going on in my body. And it's like, actually, no, that's still your head.
Yeah, it is. And that is a practice. It is a practice. And it's a simple exercise. And you put down your hands on your heart or your gut or your navel. But it's like you can put your hand on your shoulder and just really close your eyes and just feel. Just feel. Just notice what is going on there. And you might feel cold, warm, energy, chaos, pain, sadness. Everything can come up. And do you allow yourself to just notice that without any judgment? Start with that, and it will might give you a lot of information about yourself that you weren't aware of.
And your head probably won't like it.
No, it won't. And that's why we go to the head all the time. I also say that because you felt something first and then you did not like it, you went to your head and there you thought you could fix it. But go back again and said, what was I not willing to feel right now?
I like to use humor in my work. One of the things that I've done with clients before is I'm like, right, I am the bouncer, the door man for this session. And anytime your head tries to get into the session, I'm going to say, not tonight. Take a walk around the block, maybe try in an hour. I find this really helpful because in a way, what the head represents is the ego. The ego feels under attack or kind of like, oh my God, I'm being excluded. I lose control. This whole thing is going to fall apart. I can't allow that to happen. So your mind and your head and your ego are doing exactly what they're programmed to do. It's like, oh no, like I'm in charge. I'm the official at the top. Like I am the commander, chief and commander. I think being playful with that, I also sometimes declare to clients, I am not a threat to you. I am your friend, I'm an ally. I'm not here to get rid of you. In fact, I quite like you. I think you've managed to keep this person very safe for a very long time. And all we're going to do in this 40 minutes is just do a bit of exploration. And at the end, you'll get total control back again.
Yeah, yeah. Or just say thank you. Thank you for wanting to protect me, but I got this.
There is a process, isn't there, about leaning into somatic and body work. It's not something you can jump 2 feet into necessarily if it's not something that you've done before, because it could be quite like destabilizing.
Yeah, and overwhelming. Yeah.
Kamla, I'm really curious about how you make sense of people's internal relationship with themselves, their connection to themselves, their identity, who they believe they are in this and who they're becoming in relationship to their body. That bit of like, how does my identity and my body form a relationship or an alliance? Or is it that we're just like a crab and we're just living in this body temporarily? Like, I'm just curious about what your perspective.
The meat suit, as some people refer to our body, I think that would be also my language for it. It's just a suit that we have put on, but inside, if we can say inside, there is a soul that will continue to travel, and you might have different meat suits along your journey on Earth, or maybe beyond Earth. That doesn't mean that you therefore then neglect it, because it's there. So it has a function. So respect it. And what I see often is that people don't respect their bodies. The moment we start to respect our bodies is when we get ill, when it starts not functioning, when it starts alarming us, because that's basically what it really does when you get ill or you feel a disease within yourself. It's an alarm. It's a signal that your body is telling, hey, wake up. This is not working for me anymore. So respect that. Yeah, unfortunately, that happens often when we are sick already, instead of preventing of becoming ill or sick. It's a tool, and you can use it as a tool. If you won't, then it will start talking to you. First in whispers, and then a little bit louder, and sometimes the body has to scream because you're not listening. You're not willing to pay attention to it. And then it will take over. And then your head can say whatever, your ego can say whatever, but your body will shut you down.
I find that so fascinating because I'm just thinking since Christmas, I've had some hip pain occasionally. And, you know, it was like getting worse and worse and worse. And I was ignoring it and kind of being like, I'm sure it'll go away. I'm sure it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And then I started paying attention to it, and then it was just gone. Like it was, I'm always so impressed by the speed at which my body can reorientate, reorganize, repair. Like you even think about it, we get like a cut, a laceration, and it just heals.
If you really study it, it's really amazing what is going on, even right now, and we're not aware of it. And that's a good thing, right? Because we don't want to know that all the cells are doing whatever they need to do and all the blood does what it needs to do. But it is amazing. It's a whole machine that is working for us. So we might want to treat it a little better.
Yeah, I know that sometimes I have a tendency to treat mine like, you know, like an employee where I'm just like, come on, do your work, hurry up, do it faster.
Yeah.
And like really changing the narrative on that. I talk about befriending my body. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And embracing it, because for me it's about actually giving it kind of like care. I got into a habit, maybe can't remember when it started. Well, actually I think it started when I was a kid, but more consciously doing it out of intent, maybe sometime in the last 10 years, of like regularly actually just giving myself a hug.
Really. And if you just brush yourself on your skin, even that does so much for a lot of people. Just to start with your hand and just touch it, just very slowly, and a lot of people get a lot of sensations there, like, oh my gosh, I never did this for myself and to myself. Yeah.
One of the things like I love doing is going for body treatments like massage or reflexology. I trained as a holistic therapist after school. That was the first thing I did. And it's something I grew up around as well. My mum always went for aromatherapy. My dad always went for massage. People, I think of these things as like, okay, they're nice to have, they're luxury things. I do that when I go on like a spa weekend away or with my birthday. And like, for me, I have to admit, these are things I do as much as I possibly can. Having my body rubbed is so important for sustaining a positive connection for myself. It's so important. I know people are probably thinking, oh, John's talking about rubbing his body. I'm not talking about it in an erotic or sexual way. I'm talking about the fact of like actually having that nurturing, safe touch.
And it's not a treat. We treat it as a treat, but it's really necessary.
Yeah, like for me, it's as important as eating a nutritious meal.
Really. And babies, I mean, that's also scientifically proven. If you don't touch them, they die. We need touch. Really, really.
And I'm curious about how your like movement into somatic work and working with the body was informed by dance. I'm wondering, is that what drove you in that direction?
Yes, for sure. For sure. When you're busy with your body, because that's if when you're a dancer, it's 24/7, all the time. A lot of pains as well, and blisters and all that kind of stuff. But it's also all the stuff, it's really the warming up. It starts with the warming up. And then really you get to know your body. And today is so different than the next day. And the next day is even more different than on Saturday, let's say. It's really to really get in touch with all the things that your body is possible to do. Because in dance, you extend all kinds of things that you think, my body cannot do that. And there we go, we can. So yes, that for sure started there. And I also see the combination with systemic work, because dance is also systemic. You have the lines, you have the different representatives, you have to make it all work, you have to combine all the stuff, the lights, the sound, the dancers, the stage, the public. It's a whole systemic constellation.
And do you have like a routine or a ritual for your body? Because I think we live in a world right now where there's a lot of exercise on movement, predominantly informed by exercise, right? So it's like gym, lift weights, run, Pilates, yoga, do it more, do it faster, do it heavier.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not trying to dissuade people from living a healthy lifestyle, right to the contrary. I think if that suits you and it works for you and you enjoy it, great. I went to the gym for about 4 or 5 years in my 20s and got really into it and really enjoyed it. But I stopped going because I realized that actually I was doing more harm than good. I was overexerting myself, had some unresolved physical trauma, and it was starting to create disease in my body. So I actually needed to get out of that and actually come back into much more gentle forms of movement. So I'm just wondering, like, what's your relationship with movement on a day-to-day basis? Is it just like you just go with whatever you feel like your body needs, or do you kind of have a set routine?
So I have, yeah, I would say a ritual that for sure every day, 20 minutes of movement, whatever that might be. So that can be just dance. I put on a salsa number and we do some salsa. It can be weights. It can be Pilates. It can be yoga. It can be just movement. But I listen to my body what it needs. So it's not like I need just what you said. And I think the last week I had a client and she is very rigid on herself. So I need to do this and I must do this. Da, 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 da. And she's very much into exercising. And she said, I'm training for a marathon, I'm doing weights now, and blah, 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 blah. And then I said, I think what you need as a movement is more gentle movement. So let's see what yoga might do for you, swimming might do for you. Be more gentle with yourself, because that it also includes, because the head is still there. So it also gives your head then more ease and more time and space as well. And she started it and she says, yeah, it's really good for me right now. So, but you have to listen to your body. If you don't know it consciously, just what do I feel like right now? And don't be too rigid to yourself.
I know it's a real cliche, but the thing of less is more is sometimes so accurate. I was doing a session with my own counselor a couple of years ago, and one of the ways in which I release a lot of tension is through yawning. And I burp as well. If there's something very deep that I'm processing, I will burp and burp and burp and have a big release. But I yawn a lot. And I've always been like that. But I get into these really big, overextended yawns, where I can almost feel it on my jaw joint. And it was so interesting because he invited me and he said, what would it be like to just yawn in a more gentle way? And it was like, without overextension, the yawn actually became deeper, which was really weird for my head because my head was telling me, no, it won't be possible unless you overextend your jaw. And I've been really playing with that since now and about, yawning and doing little yawns for a longer period and Yeah, I just found that really interesting that sometimes that more subtle, gentle form of movement is so regulating for our nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah, we have so much speed. I always say, why are we so much in a hurry? So we all have to slow down more. And then your breath will become slower, your movements will become slower. And we think that that is not okay. But who told us that that is not okay?
Yeah, well, that's how our minds have been programmed, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you look at animals, you know, animals come in a hurry or within speed when there's danger. That's the only thing when they're going to run. And further, they are lying down, they're stretching, they're jogging, they're just looking around. We are animals too, but we forget that.
I learned so much from my dog Oscar. Oh my
Uh-huh.
God. So much. He just really allows himself to spread out and take rest, really take rest. Kamla, as we come to the end, and you think about our discussion, because I mean, we're really only tipping off the edge of an iceberg here, but it really is about giving people a flavor or inspiration. What would be your like parting sentiment around developing a relationship with your body?
Start today.
Oh, nice. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's like, yeah, start today.
Love it. And what question would you like to ask our next guest?
Where do you feel unsafe within your body right now?
Where do you feel unsafe within your body right now? Great. We will tag you when that episode gets published so you can hear their answer.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me, Kamla.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening. I'm curious about what this conversation has stimulated for you. Thoughts, feelings, curiosity. If this episode intrigued you, hit follow to be notified about new episodes. I know these conversations are valuable to me, and if you think they're valuable too, please do leave a review. Leaving a review allows more people to discover the podcast. You can scroll down to ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and click write a review. You can also connect with Becoming You on Instagram and TikTok by searching the handle at becoming_you__. The links are in the show notes too. You can also visit www.becomingyou.ie to explore the idea of becoming yourself. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.